The Vatican may not have revealed why I complete the so-called third secret of Fatima. Malak Martin, a priest who read the disturbing content not divulged of that secret, decided to reveal everything I knew about information kept secret in the archives of the Vatican. Martin considered that the third secret had far-reaching implications beyond what was disclosed by the Vatican and had no relationship with the when John Paul II was approached. Many questions really disclosed by the Vatican. The whole third secret, there still exists something hidden that will perhaps never be known. A text of the third secret is missing. Evidence suggests that something is missing, and if the Vatican really wants to hide part of that secret, could be because contains a terrifying conspiracy that could shake the world, or something else. Reason today, we are going to discover the whole truth behind the reason why part of the third secret of Fatima, it was completely revealed. We are going to hear the truth from a priest who read the third secret of Fatima in its totality. If you believe in God and want to receive more videos that can change your life, subscribe to the channel point taken right now by clicking the subscribe button just below this video. Comment here below if you have already heard of the secret of Fatima, very well kept by the Vatican. In 1917, Our Lady appeared to 3 children in Fatima, Portugal, among several messages and miracles delivered to them. Secret that was good for some and bad for others. Although 2 of the visionaries died a few years after the third, Lucia dos Santos lived a long life as a Carmelite nun. In 941, a Lucia revealed in her memoirs that the secret had 3 parts. Despite having published the first 2 secrets, he chose not to divulge the third secret because it could shake the world. Instead, he wrote it down and handed it in to your local bishop, asking him to send to the Pope and ensure that the secret was not revealed publicly until 1960. The secret was handed over to Rome in 1957, but in 1960, the Vatican decided not to release him, claiming that he would probably remain forever under absolute the secrecy after decades of speculation and controversies, including a kidnapping of plane in 1981, where Pope John was required. Paul, I will reveal the secret of the Vatican, finally revealed the third secret in 2000, describing a scene apocalyptic, including an apparent forecast of the attack against Juan Pablo I and exhorting to repentance and penance. Even after the disclosure of one of the revelations most guarded of the Church, the third secret of Fatima, many people follow dissatisfied with the explanation offered. It is suspected that the Vatican still hides an essential part for complete the real secret. In fact, Italian journalist Antonio So I accused to the Vatican for not releasing the text complete secret, pointing out various inconsistencies between what was disclosed and what was said above about the secret. Rumors arose that the Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who he later became the Pope Benedict X, would have confessed to his friend Father Ingo Dollinger that the Vatican had retained a path the secret that warned of a bad council and a bad mass. This combined with the request from Lucia so that the secret would not be disclosed until 1960 seems to refer to the Second Vatican Council. Already subsequent liturgical reforms that still are controversial among many traditionalists. Christopher Ferrara, a American lawyer and commentator, Catholic, highlighted in a conference that there are many inconsistencies in the version of the Vatican, stated that among those truly familiar with the events in Fatima, only a minority firmly accepts the notion that an ambiguous vision of a bishop dressed in white outside a city half ruined is everything there is in it. Third secret. Some argue that the third secret of Fatima was a prophecy so shocking and serious that several popes decided not to give it to meet the faithful, and also the text published in 2000 contained little more than an allegory about past struggles the Church with the ideologies of the century XXX. It is believed that the third secret is not. I was referring only to the Pope in white, who later it was believed that he was Pope John Paul I fulfilling the prophecy. but pointed to a bigger picture, that is the crisis of faith and pastoral negligence. Russia is prophesied to play a role before the death of Father Malachi Martin in 1999, who granted a series of interviews with both Art Bell and Bernard Yen, discussing these issues. In the interviews given by the Father Malachi Martin, frequently argued the third secret of Fatima, although not revealed its direct content, mentioned that the message of Fatima was focused not only on Russia as I expected, but also in Ukraine, especially in Kiev. Surprisingly, a listener told Martin that he had heard from a priest who read the third secret that the last pope would be under the control of Satan. Or listen to this. The Pope identified as John Paul. I fainted thinking that he was the one mentioned and confirmed that it appeared to be the text of the third secret. What is even more interesting is that some years before Martin had divulged as much as ever I would do it about the third secret reading public. In his book of 1990, The Keys of this Blood Esterase book did not hold back in describing that the written formulation of the secret covered three main themes: a physical punishment of the nations involving both natural disasters as man-made on land, water, and in the global atmosphere, a punishment spiritual even more terrifying and distressing, especially for the Roman Catholics, since it would consist of the disappearance of religious belief and a period of widespread disbelief in many countries, and the crucial role of Russia. Martin said that both punishments, physical and spiritual, were intrinsically linked to the third theme, Russia's decisive role. According to with Lucia's letter, the punishments, physical and spiritual, would be triggered by a fatal schedule in which Russia would be the regulator. He also mentioned that despite the severity of punishments intended for punish the nations for their wickedness and abandonment of the laws of God, had hope that the whole process catastrophic could be avoided. It would be possible if two things were fulfilled: Mary's demands that the Pope in 1960 publish the text of the third secret so that everyone could read it and know it, and that the Pope, together with all his bishops, to consecrate Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Martin, he stressed that if these two were fulfilled basic conditions, the two punishments, physical and spiritual, would not be inflicted to humanity. Russia would be converted to religious belief and would follow a period of great peace and prosperity. Unfortunately, these conditions were fulfilled during the time of John 23, and Martin regretted that the consecration collegiate of Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary would not have happened in October of 1962, when 2,500 bishops met in the Vatican to open the Second Vatican Council. Malachi Martin, if based on a response from Pope John Paul I on why popes previous ones did not choose to publish the secret or obey the request related to Russia, the predecessors of John Paul I, in the Petrine office John II Paul VI and John Paul I diplomatically, they preferred to postpone the publication to not encourage the world power of the common to make certain movements. On the 25th of March of 1984, Pope John Paul II held a ceremony to carry out the consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Maria, but at the last moment decided not to mention Russia. Our Lady of Fatima promised peace through her intercession if their wishes were fulfilled. Requests: if the Pope and all the bishops consecrate Russia to their Immaculate Heart and promote the devotion of the first 5 Saturdays, Russia would be converted and there would be peace. Otherwise, Russia will spread its mistakes around the world, causing wars, and in the Church, the good would be martyred, the Holy Father would suffer greatly, and several nations would be annihilated. Aired in 1936, when Sister Lucia asked the Sir, why would you not convert Russia, or would bring peace without consecration specific to Russia? He replied that he wanted the whole Church to recognize that consecration as a triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, so that the Church will place the devotion to Immaculate Heart next to the devotion to His Sacred Heart. On the 25th of March of 1984, Pope St. John Paul II, of agreement with the late Father Gab Mort, he performed the consecration to the Immaculate Conception Heart of Mary, but did not mention Russia, however. The Pope made a public prayer for the conversion of Russia and made it a topic of prayer in all masses, but from the traditional Catholic perception could not have been sufficient for conversion complete Russia. However, many they believe that Pope John Paul I ignored the consecration and that the final message of the third secret has not yet been fully revealed by John Paul II himself. He also said that the third secret is referred to a crisis of faith that was not related only to Pope John Paul II. Martin made an observation interesting in his book, The Keys of This Blood, where he declared that the consecration of 1984 was a mistake in not including Russia, stated that the real reason why, which the Vatican did not publish the text, the complete third secret, was his concern that the third secret would contain a much more profound prophecy, deep and terrifying, about the fall and the imminent collapse of the Church Catholic. The final prophecy of the third secret was associated with a crisis devastating in the Catholic Church, that Martin predicted it would happen, and that it was in course. The secret was considered by Martin as a warning that the Catholic Church would face a crisis so serious and deep that it would end destroying himself spiritually. Martin suggested that if the true content of the third secret that was revealed would trigger a feeling of panic and despair among Catholics, for therefore the Vatican's decision to retain the final part of the third secret was intended to protect the Church and its faithful from a shock destabilizing. He believed that the fault at the consecration of Russia was in the center of this crisis is the revelation of part of the third secret in 2000 was followed by statements from many theologians and seers who considered the incomplete message, and they said no explained all the events mentioned. For example, some people claimed that that the disclosed text indicated that the secret was a prophecy about the loss of faith and apostasy in the Church, and not specifically about a dad in particular. If you have felt intrigued by the surprising revelations and you want to continue exploring these fascinating topics, subscribe to our channel. Point taken. Right now, click on the subscribe button just below and activate the bell so you don't get lost none of our next videos. I like it if you like the content and comment your opinions and doubts. I invite you to enjoy and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with others so they can benefit too. Leave a comment below to share your thoughts and experiences. Thank you for watching and joining us on this journey. We'll see you in the next video. Blessings.